And good morning everyone. Let's start on the analysis. We're on EU, we have EU on the top, we have DXY on the bottom, we're on the daily chart. So what's this daily chart showing us? Yesterday was another bearish day. I'm zoomed out for the moment just to show obviously these POIs from the past, from 2023. So yesterday we had another bearish closing, right? This bearish momentum is really continuing. You can see these black candle days. We pulled back somewhat because we met a sell side liquidity low, right? So this previous low here. Once we took that sell side liquidity, we pulled back overnight up until the close. Now today, as you can see, we're very, very bearish already, right? We've moved a lot of pips already this morning. We're heading for the previous daily low and ultimately probably this daily order block here, which I pointed out yesterday, where we may see some support. Okay, so this low here, this order block here, swept this low, went on to make a higher high. So I do see it as good support. We had sell side liquidity resting just above it as well. So on the daily chart, that's kind of like an inducement as well. So I do think possible support down into this areas, but clearly it's drawing price to this area. We have this clear bearish daily leg as well. So we'll see what price does once it meets the previous daily low and possibly this order block here. Now, as I said yesterday as well, we do have divergence still at the moment, say from this high here to this lower high currently on DXY, right, which shows DXY weakness because it's divergence at the moment. Obviously, price hasn't stopped moving, so we may just break through this. But if we do find support here before we break this high, then I would say that divergence comes more into play and it looks more like a weaker dollar, possibly at that point, giving some more confidence to this support. Let's move on from the daily. Let's go down to the 4 hour and see what that looks like. So onto the 4 hour, no surprises. Obviously, we are bearish in structure, bearish momentum, and we're obviously in a discount, right? So I count the 4 hour leg from this high to whatever low we're making now, because I don't see any sort of premium pullbacks. So I just see this as one leg. We have these sort of overnight price actions into the evening that go a bit sideways, but overall I see us from here down to here at this current time, right? So our premiums more up into this area, and I still see this as the discount. Of course, if we keep going, then that just extends and this becomes a premium as well. So just making that a bit more clear. We have that leg that obviously we mitigated just into the premium and then broke down, made that lower low. So that's why I'm counting that as a new leg. All right, we still have a POI here, which may come in to play at a later date. So for me, of course, the bearish structure is there, right? We have a bearish trend, but we have just taken sell side liquidity and we are drawn further towards the low, and we've taken some major sell side liquidity previous day as well. So we do have to keep an eye out for any sort of pullback behavior. I do think this drawn price is so close by that we'll be pulled into it. But given all this sell side liquidity, I am cautious with following the trend sometimes and just jumping into positions that may come back against me, especially after we've taken fresh sell side liquidity, such as this previous daily low. I'd need us to continue some order flow for me to be a bit more confident with trading with that trend against any sort of liquidity. But my main takeaways are we're in a discount. We have taken all of this sell side liquidity. We have a draw on price below. Yes, so we're going with that trend. Now DXY, this isn't moving live, but it's also taken its previous daily high. And as we know, yesterday it took a significant high as well. So there are possibilities of pullbacks. Price may seek out buy side liquidity, but the trend is strong, so it may also go with the trend. So I can't make any conclusions here from the 4 hour. So let's go down to the 1 hour. Let's see what that looks like. So as expected on the 1 hour as well, the structure is bearish. The trend is clear, the momentum is clear. And as we can see now clearly, we've taken a previous daily high on DXY for buy side liquidity and previous daily low on EU for sell side liquidity. So will there be some sort of pullback? Maybe. It may just be internal up into this area before we continue that trend. But of course, we're in a discount, fresh sell side liquidity, fresh buy side liquidity. So we have to be cautious of continuing that trend against these things. So if I look up into these mini legs, of course, as I said, these are like these overnight after session price actions. We have a few of these, but we are leaving behind order blocks in those as well with imbalance. So I have marked these out for the time being as possible future resistances and maybe places to continue shorts from if we come up to those, right? So we'll see how that plays out. in terms of today, I think my bias maybe for this morning, I'll keep an eye out for counter trend longs, right? We've taken that fresh previous daily low, previous daily high. So that may come into play, at least in the short term. But some good areas for with trend shorts would be maybe from up here. We'll see what the internal price action is saying, but these order blocks up here, right, would be great for that are more into a premium of, say, the 1 hour internal legs. The best place for longs eventually once we're down into here and we switch structure to go long from. So that's what I'll be looking for. Being super patient. We don't need to jump into everything. But I do see the potential for longs from here because we have taken that sell side liquidity today and yesterday, right? So that's what I'll be looking at this morning. Let's see the lower time frame. Let's see what the M15 is showing us. So as I was discussing yesterday, right, this super corrective price action that happened pretty much all day until we took that sell side liquidity target. It's very corrective. This is trend line liquidity to me. We've got similar continuing today, so I do still see this as trend line liquidity. We've swept the lows now. I do think the trend is powerful and it probably will continue us down into this area. We have CPI today as well, so a lot of big news. Price may play around waiting for that announcement before it plays out and does anything, but we'll see what happens in London at least. I don't see anything that fruitful to even go short from here. This price action is just so corrective. Why I said I would rather wait for this 1 hour POI is just because it's a clear higher time frame order block and I can wait for price to shift from that area to possibly do something like this, then break down, right? We've got a breaker structure, then we can pull back to our order block to go short from. So something like that to me looks a lot more clearer than the current price action we have here with these M15 order blocks, right? No high time frame POI, and it's just really corrective. Everything looks mitigated. Price is just continuing down correctively. Like I wouldn't really want to trade this stuff, even though you could potentially say, yes, M15 order block here, lower low, we've shorted that down into this area here. It was possible, but for me, it's just more risky. So what I would want to see today, either from here or further down here, is for price to, do what it's currently doing here, break of structure, say it left some sort of clear structure here, and then we can pull down to an M15 order block to maybe get this pullback opportunity, right? So some structure to form around this area here. We break that structure very clearly, right, with an order block with imbalance from all of the momentum from it, and then we can pull back to our M15 order block with possible inducement from that pullback to then trade higher. As I said, I'm in no rush to get involved in any sort of counter trend opportunity at the moment, but I do believe that that's there. We could sweep that internal low right here, right, for sell side liquidity, get momentum, break up and pull back to then go higher. All of this looks corrective, trend line sort of formation. I don't want to go digging into the M5 or just using M15 order blocks to trade against the sell side liquidity we've taken, even though we're being drawn towards this area here. So that's just how I like to deal with the risk. So these are the sort of things that I think would be the most high quality. And as I said, right, this can happen down here somewhere as well, which would be even better than a previous daily low. Right, so that's the sort of things that I'm looking for. Right, I'll be patient. I'll wait for order flow to look clear. Maybe I'll get a continuation somewhere, right, after we've broken down or broken up towards the premium. So I hope that was clear. So let's move on. So onto GJ again. It's one of my favorites to look at, honestly, but I wouldn't say it's moving great at the moment, of course. We look to be possibly finding some support here. We'll see that a bit more clearly on the lower time frame. Obviously, prices has sort of stayed within a little range here. Like I said, we've broken down here, pulled back with a lower high, and then we haven't yet gone on to make a lower low. We've kind of made a higher low. So we'll see what that looks like on the lower time frames, but I think we've just about swept our previous daily low and we're moving bullish today after a bearish previous day. So these candles here are closing with similar bodies, so we haven't moved very far. So I assume there's going to be some sort of lower time frame range. So let's look into that. Let's go down to the 4 hour. So since this leg here, that breakdown after sweeping that buy side liquidity, we've stayed internal to it. Again, we pulled back to that premium. This order block here broke down again, didn't take out lower lows just yet, pulled back, mitigated that 4 hour POI and moved low again. However, we have not yet taken this low here. So where this lower high would have made that low weak, we've then gone on to stop just above it, and that kind of makes the high weak. So we're between possible weak high and weak low. So that complicates things a bit more, and we may need the 1 hour to just clear that up there. We can see price seems to have the intention to go lower, but it hasn't done it yet. So it may indeed just continue that daily trend and go higher, right? So I don't think the 4 hour is super clear. We're internal to this range. I think the 1 hour may be needed again to clear things up, possibly give us a bias, right? We've taken that previous daily low just about, which has given us a bullish morning. So let's look into the 1 hour and let's see if that gives us a bias. So even here on the hourly, if you saw my video yesterday, I explained all this price action, right, where we seem to be breaking down with the lower highs, lower lows. So I see this as our internal 1 hour bearish leg. We pulled back, mitigated these higher time frame POIs as resistance, broke down again. Again, we didn't take out this low, but we left behind these POIs, right? This imbalance here with order block. We pulled back to that order block. We did reject it, right? We barely went into this last candle, but we did reject the actual imbalance itself, and this entire thing here is the ob. So I wasn't too fast when it did start going bearish. So that made this low weak because it made that lower high. We have gone and taken out that weak low there, but we closed as a sweeping candle. Therefore, we have now pulled back. All right, we still have this possible weak low here that I would like us to head towards to follow in that possible bias. I do still think internally the 1 hour is bearish, right? So we've got this external 1 hour leg, which is obviously internal to the 4 hour bearish leg, but let's not get too into that. We have our 1 hour bearish leg here. Then internally here, we've got these 1 hour lower highs, lower lows, lower high, lower low. We've pulled back to the premium. This is a 1 hour order block here, and we may meet this and see this as a possible resistance, making this low again weak. So we'll come for that low and maybe continue on to this weak low here. So if we find resistance here and break down internally on the M15, I would see this low here as weak. The sell side liquidity has obviously pulled us back. The only thing I would say as a possible negative for this area is I still see this as a POI above, possibly with this as inducement or buy side liquidity. So we've taken sell side liquidity, we may head for this buy side liquidity high, and this order block here, which was barely mitigated this last candle, because price likes to go to the last candle usually. So we'll see how that works out. Right, but if it doesn't, if we break down from here, I'm fine to use this as a POI. So I'm leaning towards a bearish bias. Right, but again, I'm just waiting for the lower time frame to confirm that from this area, and this will be a weak low to continue towards. So I hope that was clear. I know I've said a lot, so any questions, just let me know in the comments. So let's go down to the M15 and see what a trade may look like. Right, so seeing this M15 price action, I do kind of like what I'm seeing. Of course, we were bearish, and then now we're making that bullish internal pullback with the higher highs and higher lows. But now we've come into this area here. We've got our M15 imbalance, which has now been mitigated. We've got an M15 order block waiting behind here, which is within that 1 hour order block. So we may still hold this zone here, right? It may have just pulled back to an M15 order block. And once we mitigate that in this 1 hour area, this may be deep enough for us to continue going lower. So what I see today, to go with my possible bias, London has now swept its previous highs and those Frankfurt highs, which I think is good if we do close out as a sweep, right? That's buy side liquidity sponsorship. So from here, I would like to see price break down, break below this low here as a break of structure, and then we pull back to a possible M15 order block, which we could be creating now, to then mitigate to go lower again. So something like this is what I would like to see. Break of structure around here, order block left behind around here with imbalance because of the momentum caused from this buy side liquidity, mitigating this POI, and then we break down, and then possibly during the pullback we're going to have some inducement because it was corrective, and then we can just set our order to go short, stop loss just above the highs, of course, to head towards that weak low as I mentioned here on the hourly. So this is what I would like to see. Of course, this may happen up here as well. Some sort of structures formed on the way up, and we could get a breakdown from here and continue with that bias. We've got a lot of momentum at the moment, so we'll see how this goes. So that's everything. I hope that was clear. I hope you gained value from that. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.